What's up, y'all? How you doing? This is Nick, and I'm going to introduce to you guys the first history lesson on this channel. I'm dedicated this channel to English, history, and life lessons. I got my degree in English from Florida International University. I love looking up historical facts, so I'm a bit of a history buff, and life lessons that I feel that people, young folks, and even adults can learn from, alright? So if you guys have any questions, be sure to email me anything in that realm, and I'll be sure to drop a video every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now that the introductions are out of the way, we're going to get into the first history lesson. First history lesson is going to be on the Spanish conquest of the Americas, the New World, or the so-called New World. See, back in the day, way back, Portugal and Spain, especially Spain, they were broke. I mean, yeah, Spain, they had the Spanish Armada. You know, they were the best on the sea at that time. You know, nobody couldn't really mess with them. They had the Spanish Armada. They, and the Portuguese were doing their thing or what have you. You know, around that time, Spain had just expelled the Moorish influence, or the Moorish or Islamic influence of southern Spain or what have you, really Moorish takeover of Spain, of southern Spain or what have you, and their money was looking kind of funny. They needed to get new funds, so they heard about the New World, so-called New World, and they decided to send some troops over there to see what they can get, what gold, what silver, whatever they can to get their money up, because like I said, they were broke. They needed funds. Now, they sent people over who were named conquistadors. Conquistadors. C-O-N-Q-I-S-T-A-D-O-R. We put S because they sent more than one. Conquistadors, which is Latin for conqueror, I believe it is. Now, with the conquistadors, see, the big misconception about the conquistadors, plenty of people think that it was just them alone that came over to the so-called New World, amazed the natives, like, oh, we praise you as gods because you're riding horses, and this is supposed to be destiny, that is going to happen, and this, that, and the third, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. That's a big misconception. Now, you can look up a lot of these contradictions or what have you, these falsities, in the book 7 Myths of the Spanish Conquest by Matthew Restall. You can look this up. Just read the book. I read it, and it opened my mind to a lot of things. See, the conquistadors, they had plenty of help. They didn't just go over there with a bunch of guns and ammo and just wreck shop. No. See, the thing is, it was only but so few conquistadors. And you got to keep in mind, it took months to travel from one part of the world to another because they were sailing. You know, they weren't on any motor powered ships or anything like that. They couldn't just go from one part of the world to another in just a matter of a few days. So the conquistadors, they had to go there with a limited amount of supplies and do their best to use those supplies wisely. You know, the guns and the ammunition, the food and everything like that. And it wasn't like it was a bunch of conquistadors that came there at one time. There were millions upon millions upon millions of natives that were in South America, that were in Mexico, Central and South America. So the conquistadors, like I said, they didn't just come over and overwhelm them. It took them a couple centuries just to get their version of Manifest Destiny out of the way. You know what I mean? Now, the conquistadors, like I said, they didn't come by themselves. They brought slaves over from Africa. That's right, they had slaves. But you see, unlike the slaves or whatever here in North America, you know, they pretty much came over and they tricked the natives into doing the dirty work for them. See, the conquistadors, they were slick. I give them that much. The conquistadors and the Spanish and the Portuguese businessmen and lawyers and people of that nature, they were slick. See, they came over and made themselves seem like they pretty much made themselves seem like they were big shots where they were from. And they made it look like, okay, if you just let us rule you, we'll keep everything in place, everything will be good. See, a lot of the natives back then, they hated other native groups. See, the tactic of divide and conquer was put into play. See, many native tribes were at each other's necks or whatever. Everybody wanted to be top dog. So what they did, they just came through and helped out or offered allegiance to those who's willing to help them out in their conquest or what have you. See what I'm saying? So many tribes or whatever linked up with the conquistadors and helped fight the other more powerful groups of people. You see what I'm saying? Like they'll say that the conquistadors, say that, perfect example, say that the Crips, right? Say that the Crips here were the biggest gang on the planet or whatever. They were running everything, right? And then you have the Bloods, the Latin Kings, the Vice Lords. They're a smaller group. And I'll say that I come through with my crew. I call them myself the conquistadors, right? You know, and say that we come with, say that the Bloods and all the other smaller gangs, say that all they have are 9mm, right? 9mm guns. I come through, I have tanks to my disposal. I have RPGs to my disposal. I have landmines to my disposal. I have all kinds of artillery and weaponry that you never even seen before. You know what I mean? So now they're like, wow, these guys are something special. These guys are something different. They might help us, deliver us from. We can use them to help take over what the Crips have. Okay, cool. Next thing you know, they link up with me. I'm selling them weapons and we going to war with each other or whatever, and we're fighting against the Crips. Okay, we overthrow the Crips and then we jump in place. See what I'm saying? Like we take place like, hey, we did come with the solutions. We have we appear to have our stuff together. We appear to have our faculties in order. So just give your allegiance to us and we'll be sure to take care of everything. All right? And that's what happened. That's what happened. They just helped take out the bigger group, put themselves into place, and was like, hey man, just pay attention to what we got to say and we'll keep everything nice and fair. But as we all know, as we all see, it didn't end up fair, because even today the natives in their countries or what have you in South America, they going through hell, especially in Brazil. But that's a whole nother story. Now, the main thing that you have to remember when it comes to the Spanish conquest are the civilizations that got took over, all right? And some of the individuals who helped take that over. Now, one of the main names that you need to look out for, all right, one of the main names that you have to look out for in terms of who did what, one name that pops up all the time will be two names really will be Hernan Cortes, Hernan accent Cortes, and Francisco Pizarro. Those are the two names that you really have to look out for, right? Hernan Cortes and Francisco Pizarro. They led a bunch of conquistadors and slaves and other revolting natives against different empires. Hernan Cortes is known for helping bring down the Aztec. The Aztecs which were in North and as far as some parts of central Mexico. And Francisco Pizarro did his part to, from what I understand, he helped out with the Aztecs, but he's mainly known for helping to bring down the Inca, who pretty much were running stuff in Peru. That's in South America, if you don't know. Now, the Aztecs, once again, Hernan Cortes helped bring down the Aztecs. Francisco Pizarro, the Inca. Another group that you have to keep in mind when you're looking up the Spanish conquest are the Mayans. Now, the Mayans, these were some slick mud lovers. You know what I'm saying? These dudes, these guys were smart. See, the Mayans, they weren't just a bunch of people living in the jungles of South America. No, these guys were great at mathematics. They had astronomy. They had their own language written and everything, you know. So it wasn't like they were just living off the land and just, you know, foraging for food or anything like that. These guys were very sophisticated. Okay, they weren't slow. Not by a long shot. Now the Mayan, they were mostly in Central America. You know, they were in some parts of southern Mexico. They were in parts like Honduras, Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, places like that. Well, today's countries that are known as Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, El Salvador, and southern parts of Mexico. Now, these are another group of people that you're gonna have to look out for. I mean, you gotta admit, they had the whole world shook when people thought that the end of the world was coming, right? People were buying water and guns and flashlights and canned food, man. It was hilarious. Yeah, but bottom line, the Mayans, they were in Central America, so you gotta keep that in mind. Now, one of the things that they're gonna bring up, or they may just bring up, it all depends on how much of a history buff the professor is, or teacher, or instructor. They may bring up the Olmecs. They may bring up the Olmec Empire. See, the Olmecs were one of the early empires before the Aztecs, before the Mayans, before all that. Right? They were some of the first ones. They pretty much were the originators of the civilizations that had their stuff together. You know what I mean? They were the blueprint of native civilization in South America, in Mexico and South America. They had their empire in Mexico, in places that are not which is today now Veracruz and Tabasco. And they were around ever since. They got their stuff together around 1500 BC. Now, there's studies conducted that said that the Olmecs have an African origin. There's some studies African in origin, meaning people from Africa came over before anybody else in the New World, any other European group in the New World, you know, before Spain and Portugal and England and everybody else decided to make, France or whoever decided to make their way over. They were saying that Africans were making these trips across the water. These are just separate readings. That's something that you could look up for yourself with the whole African origin. But bottom line, depending upon how big the history buff your teacher is, they're going to bring up the Olmec Empire, which, like I said, was the blueprint laid out for the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Incas, and other groups. Okay. Now, I hope this helps you guys out. Like I said, I'm just giving you guys a quick rundown on certain names and groups and people and places that's going to help you out in your studies, okay? Just a quick rundown. Everything else you're going to have to fill in on your own, okay? Remember, I drop videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you have any questions whatsoever, I will look up whatever fact in history, English, or any life lesson that you have a question for, alright? So yeah, look all this up and good luck with your studies, alright? Peace and good luck.